Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, a Pittsburgh Steelers podcast made by fans like you, for fans like you. Now, here's your host.
Hey everybody, welcome to the second edition of the Steel City Underground video cast or video podcast. My name is Brian Roach, and I've got the reins of this one more time. There's a couple things I want to talk about, but I want to start off by just letting you know about the Steelers War Room. Steelers War Room is an ebook that Joe Kuzma and I wrote. Joe likes to say we spend a lot of hours on it, and that's very true in Joe's part. He did a lot of the setup for this book. He laid it out. He organized it. He got all of the prospect information, and he did a lot more work on this than I did. I'll be the first to admit it. We did collaborate on the analysis and determining which players we need to focus on. And the thing about this particular draft book that is different than most other draft books is it's really targeted at you, Steelers fans, okay? That's what we are. We're Steelers guys, and we thought, why not make a draft analysis that is specific to the Steelers? So the Steelers fan, when they're sitting there watching the draft and they see the names of the people who are on the board when the Steelers are getting ready to pick, can have some idea, hey, I wonder what Carl Lawson is like. I wonder what Derek Rivers is like. Is that a good fit for us? This is a compendium that will allow you to do it. There's 170 different player profiles in here. There's some good analysis on what the Steelers' needs are, how they fit with the Steelers, and where we think they'll be a good value pick for the Steelers. So if you're at all interested, we'd certainly appreciate you going over to Amazon. You can get it for the Kindle, for Barnes & Noble. You can get it for the Nook. It's on the Apple bookstore. Pretty much any place you can get an ebook, you can probably find Steelers War Room. So give it a shot. Let us know what you think. Joe Kuzma and myself were the co-authors of that, and we'd appreciate hearing your thoughts on the book. The second thing I want to talk about is the Steel City Underground March of Dimes contest. I want to give some props and shout-outs to a couple people. First of all, fellow Steel City Underground contributors Joe Kuzma and Nate Bodner. They've entered the contest. It's fantastic for them. Someone claiming to be James Harrison has entered the contest. Someone who wishes to remain anonymous made a nice donation. Pat Fleming, Charles Robinson made a very nice contribution. We greatly appreciate that, Charles. Who knows? You might win Rocky Stonecipher and Frank Kuski. And Frank, in addition to making his contribution, is also adding an additional prize for us. He's going to send us a Arthur Moats signed picture, which is awesome. I mean, I really couldn't thank you more, Frank. It's really great. So we've basically, amongst those guys, gotten 183 entries. So that means $183 have been donated to the March of Dimes. And that's $1 per entry. So it's really that simple. If you go on the site, look for either Emily's Story, which is my daughter, or the Steel City Underground contest rules, and you'll find a link to go to the March Dimes page. You make a donation. We still got about a month left, and while I think it's absolutely fantastic that we've managed to raise $183 for the March of Dimes, it would be awesome if we could double that or triple that in between now and when the contest ends. And on October 30th, we will do a live bit where we draw the winner, essentially. And that person, as we've said before, will get a Rocky Bleier autographed helmet. Full-size replica helmet signed by Rocky Bleier. It's got a certificate of authenticity from James Spence, which is really kind of the leader in determining autograph authenticity. There, I said it. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't get it out of my mouth, but I did. And I know it's real because I was there when Rocky signed it, so it's awesome. So we want to thank you guys for that. Now, I'm going to get off of business stuff and let's talk about Steelers. I have been, as we all have been, waiting with bated breath for something to happen over the past few days. Something we all assumed was going to happen maybe 2 days ago. And, of course, what I'm talking about is the return of Martavis Bryant. last year I was very vocal in saying that one of the big problems we had was that we simply did not have a solid number 2 receiver. We thought we were going to. Sammy was going good, and I love Sammy Coates. I think he has a lot of potential. I hope his fingers are good. He's got multiple battles that I have no doubt he can overcome, but he's got multiple battles going into this next season. One is, how's his fingers going to hold up? The other is, how's his confidence going to hold up from having had an extremely rough go ever since that Jets game? And I mean, that Jets game was really kind of a tale of two Sammys, so to speak. There was the Sammy before injury and Sammy after injury, and Sammy had been having a really good, solid, maybe even great season up until that point. But it kind of went downhill after he hurt his fingers. So, and I think we can all understand that. You break your fingers, it's kind of hard to catch a football. So the thing was, though, we didn't have, and even when Sammy was healthy, he didn't have that recognition. People didn't yet fear Sammy Coates. Martavis has been in the league for a couple years, and they have seen what he does. And as good as Sammy is, Martavis is probably better, to be fair and to be honest. I really like Sammy. I like what he's bringing to the team, and I hope it continues, and I hope he grows. But he's not Martavis. I think Sammy can be a number 2, maybe even a number 1. Same is true with Martavis. Martavis is a number 2, and he could maybe at some point be a number 1. But we don't need either one of those things out of those guys right now. We got AB. But we do need somebody to go with AB. As the second half of last season continued, teams figured out if we double, triple, sometimes even quadruple Antonio Brown, they can't throw to him. And if they can't throw to Antonio Brown, who are they going to throw to? Well, we tried to throw to Jesse James a little bit, and Jesse had a really good year. Kobe Hamilton came in, and he made some combat catches, but he was far from consistent. Eli Rogers really had a breakout season, but he's a slot guy. He's not a true number 2. And then you've got DeMarcus Ayers and DHB. And DHB's, while he has been a fantastic pickup for the Steelers, don't even get me wrong here. His special teams play, his leadership, that play that he made off of Landry's interception in the Brown games to run down there and re-strip that ball, that was amazing. It's great stuff, right? But the knock on Darius Hayward-Bay has been his hands all along, and he sometimes drops the ball, and he doesn't always make combat catches. He is not going to be a consistent number 2 threat for you. Nobody is going to be terrified of Darius Hayward-Bay. They're scared of Martavis. Defensive coordinators are scared of Martavis Bryant, and they should be, even before the suspension, even before Martavis did whatever he did to start to get his life back in order. They were scared of Martavis Bryant. If you have watched his Instagram videos, and I recommend you go over to his Instagram and follow him and check out how this guy is making himself right for this season, right? If you watch that, you will see a guy who is in tip-top shape, is doing all the right things, has got his life in order, or appears to have his life in order, and is ready for a comeback. And I think we could see a really amazing offense next year if you've got Antonio Brown, Sammy Coates, Martavis Bryant, Eli Rogers, and then whoever else is there, whether it's Justin Hunter, whether it is Kobe Hamilton, whether it's DeMarcus Ayers, whether it's Darius Hayward-Bay. Whoever else is there, that is a frightening lineup. And, Ben likes to put balls in places where guys can go up and get them. And guess what? Martavis Bryant can go up and get them. Maybe Sammy Coates will be able to go up and get them. Justin Hunter might be able to go up and get them. You're talking about red zone weapons we didn't have last year, and it showed. And especially over the second half of that season last year, when we did not have a solid, consistent number 2 threat to go with AB, teams found a way to make it more difficult for the Steelers to operate offensively. And it's to their credit that they found ways to find a way to score, to get down the field, to do things that they needed to do. But it really did show up in the Patriots game. There's no question about it. Yes, the defense was an issue, but you know what? If you go back and you watch that game, if we don't have the drops that we had, If Kobe comes down with that touchdown, it could have gone a completely different way. And I know that's hindsight, and people say that stuff all the time, but it doesn't make it untrue in some cases. And we could have had a game that went the complete opposite of how this one went. We didn't. It didn't work out that way. We lost, and it wasn't altogether pretty. But the thing that's been going on here is, of course, the fans are losing their mind to a certain extent, and maybe rightfully so. And we've had a lot of fun with, especially Tina. Christina has had a lot of fun mock tweeting about Martavis Bryant's reinstatement is imminent. The imminence of its imminency is urgent. At any moment, it could happen. And then the NFL, of course, comes out and makes a statement that says there is no timetable for Martavis's return. Well, look, there is a collective bargaining agreement, and they are supposed to follow the rules, and they don't always, and they're not in this case. They were supposed to have made a decision by now, but Roger Goodell, who I don't like, who does? He takes the power, and he has the power, and he's going to make the determinations when he wants to. My point here is, they are supposed to be doing their jobs, right? They're supposed to be making quick decisions and effective decisions, and they're supposed to take into account that they're not allowed to hamstring a team, right? You're not supposed to be able to say, we're going to hold off on this decision until X, Y, and Z happens, and you know what, if that screws you up in the draft, oh well, too bad for you, right? That's not supposed to be in their power. And, as Steelers fans, we've all wondered whether the league is out to get us, and I don't buy that. The league's not out to get us. If they were, this would be my constant state of looking. I would look like this all the time. I would just be cursing and screaming and hollering. I had to do that. I had to have a special effect come in at least once during this video podcast. So, I don't think the league is out to get us. I don't think the refs are out to get us either. I've said that many times. The refs just aren't very good. But, I get why some of us think that. I get why there is a narrative about the league being anti-Steelers or anti-Pittsburgh. I don't think that's the case. I think the league, especially Roger Goodell, is just very narcissistic and full of himself, and he likes having power. I'll be surprised. I mean, we still have a month, essentially, not quite anymore, but, a good 3+ weeks before the draft, and I will be stunned if there's not a decision prior to the draft on Martavis Bryant. It would be criminal neglect on the part of the league, and I think actionable by the Steelers if they chose to keep delaying this. Martavis has gone through the program, and as far as anybody knows, right, there is nothing that would indicate he's failed a drug test, he hasn't done what the league has asked him. To all appearances, and we have to assume, because that's all we know, to all appearances, Martavis looks like he has gotten himself on the straight and narrow. He's been coaching kids in football. He's been working out like a maniac, maybe taking a little Antonio Brown work ethic into what he's doing. And the guy looks hungry, all right? He looks like he wants to play. So all that being said, it's just unconscionable for the league to keep delaying things. Now, Martavis has taken the high road and just says, I'm sure I'm going to be reinstated. I have no doubt. He's not bad-mouthing the league as far as I've seen recently. He's not, decrying it, but the rest of us are. And I'm certainly one. I know that Zach and Eric and a lot of the people here at SCU are freely including the hashtag Free Martavis in most of our tweets. And we should. And I think that it would be great if we could get the Free Martavis hashtag to trend, because it's absurd. It is ridiculous that the league is putting a slowdown on this. It's a disservice to the Steelers. And frankly, it could be a disservice to the other teams too. Think about this. If the Steelers decide, well, we don't know what's going to happen, we got to take a wide receiver because we don't know if we've got a number 2 now. Martavis still hasn't been reinstated. That's a wide receiver that another team might have had their eye on. So it's not just the Steelers who are being impacted by this. It is other teams in the league as well. Now, it would be different if the Steelers were drafted in the top 10 where there are 2, receivers that are Martavis-like, Mike Williams and Corey Davis. But there are big, tall, fast receivers throughout the draft. Malachi Dupra, Jalen Robinette, Kenny Galladay, and others. There are others. Juju Smith-Schuster. He's not quite as fast, but he's big. And, those guys might end up on the Steelers' radar if they don't know for sure about Martavis. And that's taking a potential wide receiver prospect away from another team. Do I care about the other teams? No. I'm a Steelers fan. The heck with the other teams. I say poo on them. But from the standpoint of the league, delaying the Martavis decision is in fact impacting not just the Steelers but other teams as well. And I think it's unfair for them to continue to do this. They should make a decision, go ahead and do it. Hashtag free Martavis. Free Martavis. Free Martavis. I could chant it all day long. So, I think it's unlikely that this isn't resolved before the draft. As much as I think the league enjoys yanking our chain a little bit and putting all this on hold for a while, I do believe that by the time the draft rolls around, we'll know. If we don't, I think it's absurd. So, do I think that his reinstatement is imminent? I don't know. He could get reinstated on Monday. And today, by the way, is a Saturday. It's Saturday, April Fool's Day. And I'm not playing any jokes. This won't go out on April 1st. So, no April Fool's stuff in here, I promise, okay? All the Twitter universe that's going crazy and upset because, people made jokes on April Fool's Day. Get a life, okay? It's a joke. Have a sense of humor. All right, I'm not making any right now, though. So, if it could happen as early as Monday, it might not happen till 3 days before the draft. We don't know. We don't know. We have no way of knowing. We have no control over what the league decides to do. But I think it will come soon. In the meantime, let's get Free Martavis trending. Let's do that on Twitter. Get Free Martavis. Hashtag Free Martavis to trend. Buy the Free Martavis shirt. Yeah, I'm giving you a shout out, Joe. That is a great shirt. I love that shirt. I actually bought one. I can't wait till it gets here. Free Martavis. Free Martavis. All right. So that's my Martavis rant. I wanted to get into quarterbacks, but I'm not going to. I'm going to leave that for another time because every time I start talking about quarterbacks in this draft, I could go on for an hour, and I don't want this particular podcast to be another hour long. But I do want to say this. Let me say this about April Fool's Day. There's been quite an outrage to a certain extent about some of the articles that SCU has put out for April Fool's Day. I thought it was very creative. I didn't write one personally, okay? I did an April Fool's podcast with Joe, and we kind of pre-warned you, all right? We came on and we said, we're going to put a lot of nonsense out, and none of it is true. It's all April Fool's jokes, okay? There isn't news going on right now. Come on, people. It's April. And, traditionally, April Fool's Day is when people play pranks. I'm not saying it's a good tradition, but it's a tradition, and that's what they do, right? So we decided to have a little fun with it. And we made the little article about trading Tomlin, and we made the article about relocating to Arizona. And, the Twitterverse, or at least the SCU portion of the Twitterverse, seemed to go nuts. And some of you got it and you laughed and you said, "Oh, you got me. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it." And some of you, made faces like this. What the heck? What's the big deal? It's a joke, all right? It's one day a year. Have a sense of humor. It's laugh at yourself for a minute. Don't get so caught up in it that you feel like you've been abused because you got fooled, like a certain radio personality who believed Le'Veon Bell's tweet about not wanting to play under the franchise tag, and that he's going to sit out if he has to play under the tag. I'm not going to name names, but I really like M&M's They're good. Yummy. M&Ms are yummy. But I'm not going to name names. And, you know, this person responded and was like, oh, blah, blah, blah. I don't like that. Oh, Le'Veon Bell, is this going to cave? Steelers stink. Oh, they're terrible now. They're all wusses and they don't do anything. They don't stand up to anybody. Then he deleted it. Why? Because he realized, I'm an idiot. I fell for an April Fool's joke. Now I'm just going to yell at people for making stupid April Fool's jokes. Have a sense of humor. It's all in good fun, okay? That's, I think, my message. Relax. Let's get Martavis back in the fold. Trend hashtag free Martavis. And in the meantime, enjoy the rest of this offseason. Pick up the Draft War Room book if you get a chance and enter the Steelers Life March Dimes contest. Until next time, be safe and talk to you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.